Looks like today I'm working on a really nice 57 Chevy. It appears to be a BARRIS Customs build. Let me show you this thing. See, it's got their tag on it, the George Barris tag. We're not 100% sure anybody could put that on there, but it is a super nice car. Look at this thing. It's a 57 Chevy. Look at that front end. Check out the engine. Appears to be a small block Chevy. Got AC, louver hood. Look at this interior. And it's a 5-speed, isn't that crazy? Stick shift. But it needs a little TLC. Just little things done to it. Even the trunk is all done in tuck and roll. And it's got Packer tail lights. Looks like some pretty nice work all around the edges. Everything's pretty well finished. Handmade fender skirts, and it's got cutouts for the side pipes. It does have some strange things going on. I like the padded dash, where this wheel is centered in the wheel well. And then look at this one over here. Kind of sits forward in it. The frame doesn't appear to be cut. It does have disc brakes on it, but something is off. Either in the fender, maybe it was cut and modified, and it's just off, giving it that illusion. Because with the wheels staggered like that, this thing would pull out of your hands down the freeway. You couldn't drive it if it was really that bad. But it does need a little suspension work. The coil springs are all stuffed with those little twist coil spring expanders. Not much suspension in the front left. But, so it needs some work underneath eventually. Just a little TLC. And then you can see the cutouts are electric. But today what I got to do, and that's a early Corvette grill. I'm not sure what the bumpers go to. If anyone knows, let me know, because that's pretty awesome. Oh, that's a good look right there. Let's check out the engine here. Small block Chevy 6-pack. Now he said he had problems with it flooding a lot. It looks like they do leak quite a bit, but they appear to be new. Rochester 2 GCs, I believe they were. They're good carbs. So it is progressive. So it is only running off the center carb. They got it set up to where the outer carbs really don't do much unless you're on the floor. For this thing, that's the center one's plenty. So I'll check the adjustments, check the timing, some of the little stuff that I can do today without really getting into it. And then I'll check out the choke. I think something's odd with it. I don't think you here in Central California really don't even need a choke. I cranked it up just fine without it, but of course every time he uses the choke it floods it out. So, and he's not real mechanical. So it's got the cam here that sticks up and it stays stuck on high idle. So probably don't really need that thing to move. But so what it was he came to me first here. This is a fan controller. The fan wasn't coming on and it was running hot. And it used one of those probes that probes into the radiator. And those setups really don't work that well. They're not the most efficient. So what I got here, I like to use these, kind of like what modern cars use, just an actual sensor in the intake, in the cooling passage. And then I got a relay kit for it, a good one, from Be Cool. Got their matching kit. Of course you could rig up your own, make your own, but we're just gonna go with the store-bought setup. So I'll put this in, put this on, and get this straightened out so the fan will start working. These are good if these go bad. Instead of the fans not working, it'll just ground it and the fan will stay on. Most of these work the same way. as a safety thing, so the fans will just stay on. Right now what I did for him was we just took the relay out of it and I made this jumper wire, and he'd have to manually turn the fans on and off that way to make sure that they work. Alright, now let's get this thing put in here. I like the thread sealant. I like the liquid stuff, because remember, this sensor has to ground through the body, so I don't want to overdo it. Hopefully there's some in here. Okay, just enough to keep it from leaking, just enough to fill in the threads. Let's see. Okay, and it'll spread it around on its own when you screw it in, so should be okay. This is probably going to be pretty hot, I bet. Hopefully this thing has enough room in there to do it. See how deep it is. Yep, should be deep enough. Alright. Probably help if I got a wrench to begin with. Feels pretty good. No cross threading. Alright, so that's in there. I had plenty of depth for it. So that would be the sensor. So now to hook up the relay assembly. A car like this, you gotta have a fender cover, that's for sure. Alright, this will make it a little easier because some of it's already been hooked up, or all of it. But the fan was doing some weird stuff even when it was working. I think it's from the feed that comes from inside the car, so I'll make sure that voltage is okay, that it's not fluctuating like from the switch or something. It should be the low voltage or low current portion of it. Okay, let's get this thing out of here. Where this thing is going. And it's hard to tell what's going on with this right here. Let's cut the cover off. like the got the yellow wire here. That's the low current trigger. Then you got the red one, the high current. I'm assuming, although it's going the opposite direction. What the heck? Let's see. Sometimes it's really hard to believe. You got a car like this, you paid 60 grand for this thing, and look at this shim sham wiring we got here. Some of it's rope wiring, some of it isn't. So just pick out the stuff that I need to pull out of there. This one is must be a feed wire going into the car, I would assume. Alright, I'm over here now. Keeps getting crazier and crazier. They had the ground for the controller here at the negative ground here at the battery, and the ground wire just fell out of this wherever they had this crimped. It just fell out of it. That could have been part of the problem. And then looks like they got the green wire here. I forget what it went to, but it did go to the controller, and it's tapped in with a Scotch lock, which really are not the best things to use unless you're in a bind. Not permanently anyway. And it's running probably to the back of the alternator. Yeah. Or to nothing. Oh no, it's the AC control, so it's running to the air conditioning. Oh great. Now it turned out that the green wire that was hooked to the AC compressor was a fan turn on. When you turn on the AC, it automatically turns the fan on. You'll get cooler AC that way. It cools down the condenser, keeps it cool. But you don't have to have it on a street rod. But so the new controller or new relay doesn't have that option on it. So we're not going to worry about that right now. But so I got some of this kind of figured out, this little octopus mess here. So we got the sensor hooked up. I got my power hooked up. See the relay, and I like using these butt connectors. They're skinless. So I'll crimp that on, I'll slide this heat shrink over it and shrink it, and they look beautiful like that. It looks really nice. And then I'll cover all this stuff up again that comes up through here, make it look nice. And we'll check it, make sure that thing works. Then I'll do some adjustments on the center carb and see what's up with the choke and the idle up on that thing. And I didn't have any problem starting it this morning. As long as I didn't use the choke, it cranked right up. So I'm not sure what he's doing. He must be pumping it and choking it all the way. Alright, all I gotta do now is get it up to temperature. I've got my heat gun. And we'll check that the fans come on. This sensor, you can buy them at different ratings. So this one will come on at 185 and turn off at 165. There's still a little bit of a wiring mess. Wiring isn't usually most people's cup of tea. But it will make it look better once I get all this cleaned up a little bit. So let this thing warm up. And it's got these cutouts, they sound pretty cool. Right now I got them turned off. It's got a little lope to it. Let's see. The switch is right here. They only work sometimes. I guess they don't want to work now. That's something else. They worked a minute ago. I'm not going to push my luck though. Just leave it. Getting close. See what the sensor says. Yeah, 150 at the sensor. 130. It's not flowing yet. See if there's any pressure. Just turn it one click. Oh, there it goes. Nice. So I turn on it down 160, which is fine. And that'll run really cool. You know what's weird is the way they had the fan hooked up before, they had it turning backwards too. I swapped the ground to the other side on here, and I get a lot more airflow. You can usually tell by the pitch of the blade. Some fans are reversible, some are not. So yeah, they had ground on the other side, which meant it was going in the opposite direction. So it's pulling a lot of air through right now. So that'll pull this rag right up to it. Working. Yeah, he's gonna be happy about that. Keeping it at 160, 140, and the lower hose 150. So this engine will run really cool now. 160 is a good temp, especially if he's gonna sit in traffic like it cruises and stuff. Let's see what his gauge says. See, his gauge is a little off. It says 180, 90, which is fine as long as he knows that's normal temp on the gauge, and it's really 160 at the engine. That's cool. That'll work. Yeah, look at that dash. That's awesome. Headliner. Oh, it's even BARRIS even signed the 99. Be neat. Hopefully that's real. Afraid to try anything. I'd hate for something to quit. Oh, there goes the knob. I heard the compressor click on. I don't feel any air coming out of this thing though. Oh, it's cool. It is blowing cool air. There's not a lot of it. It's better than having nothing. I'll wait for the fans to come on again a few more times. And what I did with here is the idle up for the choke gets stuck in the up position when he chokes it, and it stays on fast idle. There's no return spring or anything to keep it. They usually just flop right back down. So I had to bend the tab out of here. We're going to keep it on low idle. Oh, there it goes. Awesome. Man, that pulls a lot of heat. Woo. That's a good fan. The size of the electric motor on it, that's a good one. That's a lot of heat coming out. That's pretty awesome. But then I'll do a little adjustment with idle mixer screws and see where the rear ones are sitting. Really just need to shut them down. But it seems to run fine the way it is. I might just leave it alone. Just get it to quit sticking on fast idle and be done with that. Tell them no need to use the choke. Get all this junk out of here. I'll cut that out. And here's the old controller. It looked like it would operate 2 fans, but it's like super cheap Chinese stuff. You can't count on this stuff. We'll do the best we can. I'll put some of this stuff back on there. I don't like this stuff, but what can you do? It's better than nothing. That's awesome. It's gonna hold it right there, 190 on the gauge. Yep, no run on or nothing. Looks pretty good. Oh, that's right, I was gonna change the fuel filter. I don't like those glass filters, they tend to leak. When they get old, they get brittle, so I'm gonna put a steel one on there for them. I think that was about it. Carburetors, the fan, and the filter for today anyways. That should be good. Let's see if I don't know if I showed you guys the tail lights. These are Packard tail lights. Look at those things. See, look at the side view of those things. A lot of customizers love these things. And then the etching on the glass. Electric antenna. It's got all the goodies.